07:42 a.m. over northern France, January 1944, cold sky, silver wings cutting winter cloud, and beneath one Mustang, a radiator door narrows slit open. Almost flush, almost wrong, backwards from what pilots once trusted. Lieutenant John R. Summers feels the vibration deep in his boots. A hum, rising. The Merlin roars clean at 2,700 RPM, oil temp holding. Coolant steady. But that scoop, that damn scoop under his belly, shouldn't be doing this. Shouldn't be giving speed. Blue leader, tally bandits, 2 o'clock low, crackles in his headset. He sees them, mottled 109s angling up, sunlight flashing off cannon ports. They come fast, climbing into a mistake. Summers pushes the throttle gate. The Mustang leaps. Somewhere across an ocean, at a cluttered drafting table in Inglewood, an engineer once sketched air, flowing backward. Radiator heat turned into thrust, pressure turned into acceleration, and insisted it would work. Most doubted. Up here, doubt dies first. Inglewood, California. October 1940. Drafting pencils scrape like tiny saws across vellum. Coffee rings bleed into test notes. Engines hum in the factory beyond the wall. Harvard trainers, rows of yellow wings. Edgar Schmued doesn't look up when the wind rattles the drafting room's panes. He's already heard enough rattling. London bombed on newsreels, French skies lost in weeks. Europe's collapse trembles in every rivet he draws. He taps the blueprint again, the underbelly scoop, a radiator duct, but flipped from instinct. Instead of dragging airflow in like a hungry mouth, he wants it to compress, heat, accelerate, then exhaust as thrust. His German accent curls around muttered English. Slower drag. Possible thrust. Must be. A North American aviation memo lies nearby, stamped urgent, British Purchasing Commission. They want a fighter in 120 days. Impossible. Foolish. Vital. A door bangs open. Lee Atwood steps in, jacket dusted with aluminum flakes. Edgar, the Air Ministry wants faster climb, better range than a Spitfire. We need magic. No, Schmued replies without looking up. Just physics. He draws the duct throat narrower. Air will scream here. Somewhere beyond the drafting floor. A test stand shakes the concrete. Allison engine, coughing fire. Schmued's pencil pauses. He hears history forming, like metal cooling in a die. And he knows, if this duct fails, pilots die with it. He keeps drawing. On his desk lies a folded paper, NACA report number 138 by F.W. Meredith. Few believed it. Schmued bets everything on it. The report proposed that a properly designed radiator installation could recover ram pressure and convert waste heat into forward thrust. Theory waiting for courage. Inglewood Flight Line, January 1941. Dawn fog clings to the test field. Mechanics stomp frost from boots, their breath rising like exhaust plumes. The prototype XP-51 gleams dull grey, wings broad, chin scoop bold like a challenge. Test pilot Vance Brees zips his leather jacket. "You're really married to this radiator trick?" he asks, tapping the scoop. Schmued nods. "It will work. The airflow, heated, adds velocity. Higher speed, less drag." Brees smirks. "Only way to know is to fly." Ground crew rolls the prop. The Allison coughs, catches, roars. Oil smell cuts the cold morning. Metal creaks as the engine settles into rhythm. Brees climbs in, canopy sliding shut like a steel promise. Tower, XP-51, ready for run-up. Static, then clearance. The Mustang begins to move, tires crunching dewdrop gravel. Schmued stands still, hands clasped tight behind his back. He tracks the tail, the rudder, the merging of line and air. Takeoff. The XP-51 lifts, steady as a held breath. "Air temperature 48 degrees, a clipboard sergeant mutters. "Coolant 178. Radio crackles across the test shack speakers. Climbing smooth. Gear up. Airspeed. Hell, this thing hustles low level. Schmued lets out the smallest breath, but he watches the radiator door lever position. Narrow. If he's wrong, the engine will overheat in minutes. Glycol boils at 387 degrees Fahrenheit under pressure. Margin for error minimal. Breeze calls again. Feels tight. Not sure what you did with that duct, but she's slick. The frost steams off wings as sunlight climbs. Schmued's fingers tremble, just once. Cooling temps hold steady. First proof. Not enough yet, but enough to keep fighting for the idea. RAF Boscombe Down, England, April 1942. Wiltshire rain spits sideways. RAF ground crew in oil-stained coats inspect the unfamiliar American fighter, now called Mustang. McQuee, Allison, engine warm, prop ticking in cooling rhythm. Pilot Ronnie Shepherd slides from the cockpit, shaking out numb hands. Rain beads on his flight suit. He pulls an RAF test sheet from his pocket. Trimmed, creased, wet edges. Low altitude speed is wicked, he tells the arriving officer. Down in the weeds, nothing touches it. But up high, the officer presses. Ronnie frowns. Falls off. Allison can't breathe above 20,000. A mechanic taps the radiator scoop. Strange thing this, like catching wind backwards. Ronnie laughs, tired. German-American engineer claims it gives thrust. I don't know. Feels different. Faster than it ought to be. Inside a drafty hangar, a clerk pins the test note. Cooling system exceptionally efficient. Aircraft displays unexpected speed in level flight. Rain beats roof tin. Outside, war spreads like smoke across Europe. This fighter is born late, but not useless. Schmued receives cables from England. Praise, complaints, suggested changes. He reads every word, circling one line again and again. Radiator efficiency superb. Duct may be contributing to speed. He allows himself coffee. No smile. By May 1942, RAF evaluation reports confirmed maximum speed of 380 kph at 13,000 feet with the Allison V1710-39 engine. Faster than expected, cooling stable throughout prolonged runs, but altitude performance remained the limiting factor. A quiet rumour forms at Boscombe Down. This thing, with the right engine, it could outrun anything. Packard Plant, Detroit, September 1942. Engines roar on test blocks. The Packard-built Merlin V1651, license-built Rolls-Royce, snarls deeper than the Allison. Sweeter, hungrier. Heat ripples the air above exhaust stacks. Schmued stands with Packard engineers, coat sleeves blackened by exhaust residue. Oil-stained concrete reflects harsh work lights. This engine, he says over the clatter, it changes the aircraft. It breathes high altitude. With our duct, British cooling system won't fit straight in. A Packard man interrupts. We adapt? No, Schmued insists. We refine. Radiator stays in duct. We scale flow, adjust exit door. He sketches airflow with a grease pencil on a clipboard. Arrows tighten, accelerate. The Merlin produces 1,020 horsepower at 19,000 feet. The Allison managed barely 1,150 at 11,800. Altitude changes everything. A mechanic yells over compressor hiss. When does this thing fly? Schmued's voice stays low. When we're sure pilots live. War production schedules scream urgency. 8th Air Force bleeds over Schweinfurt and Regensburg. Bombers need escort. Every cable from Europe says the same thing. Get fighters farther, faster, higher. Schmued wipes sweat and oil from his brow. He knows physics doesn't care about deadlines, but pilots burn if he's wrong. The radiator installation must handle increased heat load, nearly 400 horsepower of waste heat at cruise. The duck throat dimensions matter within fractions of an inch. Too wide, Drag increases. Too narrow. Cooling fails. A telegram arrives, same night. Enemy jets sighted in development. Time critical. He folds it, jaw set. The world accelerates. Dust motes dance in morning shafts of light. The 112 scale Mustang fuselage sits in the tunnel. Scoop precisely modelled. Technicians bolt sensor plates. Check manometers. Mercury columns wait to reveal truth. Schmued leans close, voice soft. If temperature rise matches prediction, thrust equals perhaps 30, 40 horsepower at speed. A junior engineer frowns. A radiator making power? Sir, that's counterintuitive, Schmued finishes. But true. Tunnel spools up. Air shrieks past model. Paper strips flutter. Instruments quiver. Pencil taps. Sweat beads on brows though the room is cool. Readings stabilize. The assistant stares, blinking. Drag. Reduced. Pressure recovery. Sir, are we gaining? Schmued nods once. Not triumph. Confirmation. The engineer whispers, almost reverent, Meredith was right. No, Schmued replies. Meredith theorized. We must prove. The scoop model hums, a sound like wind being turned into purpose. Frederick William, Meredith published his theory in 1935. A ducted radiator could recover ram pressure and convert thermal energy to thrust. The principle was simple. Air compressed, entering the duct. Heat from coolant added energy. Expansion at exit created forward force. In theory, properly designed, a radiator installation could produce zero net drag, or better. The wind tunnel confirmed inlet pressure recovery of 78% at cruise speed. Exit velocity exceeded inlet velocity by nearly 15%. Numbers don't lie. Physics keeps its promises. Data logs stamp numbers. Real, undeniable, enough to approach command with confidence and risk. Sea fog rolls off the Ribble estuary. US Army Air Force's ground crew hustle around olive-drab P-51B prototypes. Merlin engines idle, deep and smooth. Salt air mixes with exhaust. Captain William Buck Taylor briefs two pilots near the wing. Escort doctrines changing, he says. Berlin raids coming. We need altitude and legs. Command wants feedback fast. Pilot Lieutenant Robert Tully wipes grease from gloves. Heard these radiators spit fire if shot. Buck shakes his head. Self-sealing coolant lines. And that duct's armoured. It's not a belly pot, it's part of the wing load path. A British fitter overhears, nodding. Bloody clever thing. Some say the scoop gives a kick when you dive. Tully smirks. Guess we'll find out. Engines rev, prop arcs blur, steel nerves tighten, frost clings to windscreens. Schmued watches from across the airfield, coat collar up, hair whipped by wind. Not here to fly, but to listen, to every pilot comment, every vibration rumour. Engineers learn most from those who survive their creations. The Mustang's taxi. Tail wheels bounce on uneven concrete. Windsocks snap horizontal. Somewhere in the clouds above, Luftwaffe fighters sharpen talons. First flight reports would determine production schedules. 8th Air Force needed 600 P-51Bs by summer. North American's Inglewood plant ramped toward 400 aircraft monthly. Dallas plant coming online. War runs on production rates and pilot trust. Radio crackles from first climb test. Temp stable. Airspeed. Good God, this climb's like sin. Salt haze stings eyes. 2 Mustangs. Gun ports black-lined. Skim waves. Spray mist catches prop wash. Letter Tully glances at gauges. Coolant, steady at 221 degrees. Oil pressure holding at 75 psi. Radiator door, nearly flush. Drag minimal. He noses up. The horizon tilts. Sea falling away. His wingman grunts through intercom. Feels like someone shoved us? Yeah, Tully replies. Heat turns to push. Weird magic. They level at 20,000. Merlin sings. Tully breathes thin, cold air through mask. A vapor trail slices behind them like chalk on slate. He imagines the duct below, air rammed in, heated, channeled out like a jet's whisper. A radiator that refuses to slow the aircraft. Waste heat becoming thrust. Thermodynamics bent to war's purpose. Let's see what she's got, he mutters. Throttle forward. The Mustang runs. Airspeed indicator climbs 380, 400. 420 miles made indicated. At altitude, true airspeed touches 440, faster than any German fighter in service, faster than most could believe. In the slipstream hum, the scoop trembles, not from weakness, but from power. He thinks of bombers lumbering Europe's edge, thinks of Luftwaffe waiting with cannons primed. This machine could cut that noose. They land to find a memo waiting. P-51B approved for 8th Air Force escort evaluation. War shifts on paper first. Orders flow from headquarters. Units retrain. Logistics adapt. Within weeks, first operational P-51B groups would deploy to England. Strategy changes when physics delivers. Maps spread across oak tables, red string traces bomber routes. Schweinfurt, Stuttgart, Bremen, too many breaks where fighters turned back, too many losses where fortresses went alone. General Tui, Spatz, circles a new line, deeper, longer, hopeful. Cigarette smoke hazes the room. A staff officer says, "Sir, reports say new Mustangs hold 440 mph high altitude, cooling stable, range with drop tanks near 2,300 miles. Another officer counters, "But radiator vulnerability? One hit?" Spatz shakes his head. "Thunderbolts fight well, but Mustangs go farther. We need Berlin. We need home escort." Silence falls heavy with fuel fumes and casualty lists. Outside, Mustangs idle on the line, condensation trailing from exhausts. Ground crews load ammunition belts. Fuel trucks pump 85-gallon belly tanks. Each gallon means 4.5 miles deeper into Germany. Schmued stands at the fence, listening to engines like symphony notes, precise, demanding, eternal. He knows every bolt, every seal, every carefully calculated curve. Theory proven, now pilots must prove survival. A corporal jogs past with a clipboard, weather brief, fuel allotment, pilot rosters, real war lives in paperwork and warm engines. The general signs the deployment order. August 1943 loss rates showed the crisis. Unescorted bomber raids suffered 20% losses on deep penetration missions. Unsustainable. Unacceptable. The P-47 Thunderbolt managed 475 miles radius with drop tanks. Berlin lay 600 miles from English bases. The math was brutal. Typed line, underlined in pencil. P-51 to provide long-range escort for strategic bombing into Germany. The fuse is lit. Over Germany, December 1943. Grey light bleeds through thin cloud, frost webs canopy edges. Mustang groups climb above B-17 formations. Silver shields, flanked by sleek knives, contrails etch the sky white. Blue leader copies, range tanks dry. Jettison, clanks echo as tanks fall empty into the void. Weight drops, performance returns. Summers, same pilot from the opening moment months later, fingers radiator control. A tiny lever, a tiny gamble. Schmued built it to be automatic, but pilots learned manual finesse. Slit it, reduce drag, ride the heat. 109s, 11 o'clock high. Someone barks. German fighters dive. Sharp noses, yellow markings faint against cloud. Gun ports wink, cannon traces arc orange. They come fast, desperate. Summers shoves throttle. The Mustang kicks hard, radiator exhaust hissing warm underfoot. G-forces press him deep into seat cushions. Coolant, temp edges. Up 220, 230, then steadies as velocity feeds the duct. Faster flight cools better, counterintuitive, True. The Merlin howls, manifold pressure 67 inches, RPM 3000, war emergency power. A 109 flashes past, too slow. Pilot's head turns, tracking. Shock visible even through goggles. Summers rolls, cuts across its tail. Tracers stitch sky. Bright lines of physics. The German brakes, desperate. Negative G shoves blood to his skull. Inside his cockpit, Summers feels the strangest sensation, not fear. Advantage. Gun camera clatters, capturing a brief burst. A 109 spirals smoke. Radios fill with astonished voices. We're faster than they are. First combat reports confirmed. P-51B could outrun Bf-109G6 above 20,000 feet, could outturn at high speed, could escort to Berlin and return. The sky's rules changed. 07:42 AM, return to opening moment. January 1944, same sky, same breath frost, but now we slow down, second by second. Reality crystallizes. Summers eyes the climbing 109s. Altitude 24,000, fuel good, coolant stable at 228. His breath fogs the mask interior. Wing, cover high, I'm going for lead pair. He dives first, counterintuitive. Let them think he runs. Drop, build energy, climb back with more than you left. Energy management, Boyd's principles before Boyd named them. Radiator door 1/3 open. The duct bellies, heat, squeezes wind, spits acceleration, 30 horsepower of thrust at speed. Doesn't sound like much, means everything. He feels it, subtle but real, like someone adding a hidden engine. Stick forward, then back, smooth as prayer. G's crush him, his breath grunts through mask. Vision tunnels, grey edges creep inward. 109s flash by. He's above them now. Advantage flipped. Physics favours the prepared. Trigger. 50 cowls roar, vibrating bones. Brass shells whirl past canopy, glinting. Smoke streams from gun ports. A cannon round buzzes close, ripping air with a sound like tearing metal. A German pilot rolls hard, slipping trace. Summers matches, surprisingly light, on controls for a fighter this fast. Mustang dances where physics say heavy. Laminar flow wing, low drag. Schmued's obsession with smoothness. He glimpses the pilot, goggles, tight jaw, desperation. Young, everyone's young. Another burst. The 109 catches flame, peels away. Black smoke trailing like a wound. Glycol spray sparkles in sunlight. Summers exhales once. He doesn't celebrate. He looks for the next threat. Radiator temp drops 2 degrees. Engine cools as victory heats the sky. Radio crackle. Mustangs. Stay with heavies. Do not chase. War's not won on kills. It's won on escort. The longest hour. Berlin raid. March 1944. The air tastes like gunpowder and metal fear. Contrails crisscross the heavens. White scars on blue. Flak bursts bloom black. Violent flowers around bomber boxes. Shrapnel pings like deadly rain. Summers checks instruments. Fuel tight but sufficient. Coolant rock steady. Oil warm at 85 degrees. Below, Berlin smoulders under fortress bombs. Above, Mustangs tangle with what's left of the Luftwaffe's pride. FW-190s, Bf-109Gs, a few experimental TAR 1-feet-2s, desperate metal. They thought Mustangs would run low fuel and turn back. They were wrong. A lone FW-190 dives, cannon blazing, 20mm shells trace past. Summers throws his Mustang hard right, radiator whining as airflow shifts. He thinks of Schmued, of a desk in California, of ink and theory turned survival. Every pilot owes his life to equations most never see. He lines up, fires short, disciplined, 50 rounds, no more, ammunition precious this deep. Smoke pours from the 1-90's cowling. It doesn't fall, it flees. Pilot's choice, survive or die, proving nothing. Summers lets him go. Orders matter. Bombers matter. Strategy over ego. Voices crackle through static. Mustang's still with us. God bless 'em. Somewhere far away, Schmued listens to BBC reports, silent, exhausted. Numbers filter through. 69 bombers lost from 730 dispatched. Without escort, estimates predicted 150 losses. The math of survival written in aluminum and courage. Physics defended democracy today. March 6, 1944. First full-scale 8th Air Force raid on Berlin with P-51 escort to target and back. Luftwaffe fighter command's effectiveness never recovered. Attrition they couldn't sustain. Fuel they couldn't replace. Pilots they couldn't train fast enough. Bomber losses drop. German fighter morale cracks. A Luftwaffe intelligence note later reads, enemy escort fighter unmatched in speed and altitude performance. North American plant, California. August 1944. Heat hangs above the factory roof. Rows of Mustangs roll towards sunlight, silver finish gleaming. Workers wipe sweat from brows, rivet guns resting. The floor smells of aluminum dust and fresh paint. Schmued walks the line. His eyes trace each scoop, each curve. The duct looks like a simple belly intake. Only he knows its soul. Only he remembers the doubt. A young mechanic stops him shyly. Sir, is it true the radiator gives power? Schmued nods once. At speed, air becomes thrust. Waste heat turns to force. The mechanic whistles. Never thought heat could help? Everything helps, Schmued answers, if you learn how to use it. He places a hand on a fresh painted fuselage, feels cool metal turning warm in sun. Men who will fly this plane aren't here. Their ghost might come home, or not. Production numbers climb. 15,000 P-51s built by war's end, more than any other American fighter. Inglewood and Dallas plants running 3 shifts. Each aircraft, 7,400 man-hours. Each radiator duct, machined to tolerances within thousandths of an inch. Exhaust crackles from a distant test bay. Someone laughs. Someone cries quietly behind a shipping crate. War builds planes and breaks people. Schmued receives a letter from a pilot's mother. My son said your airplane brought him home. Thank you. He folds it with care, breath held. No response possible. No response sufficient. He thinks of Meredith, the British engineer who theorized impossible things, of naysay researchers who tested and confirmed, of Packard mechanics who built engines to brutal precision, of pilots who trusted physics when bullets made faith hard. Victory is distributed across 10,000 hands. He only held the pencil first. Debrief room, RAF Debden, May 1945. Silence feels unnatural. War ending feels stranger than war beginning. Engines quiet. Guns cold. Summers sits at a wooden table. Logbook open. Pages filled with engine temps. Fuel loads. Coolant notes. And occasional short lines like prayers. Duct holding. Heat good. Low drag setting saves fuel. Radiator magic. Don't touch it. He rubs tired eyes. Behind him, ground crews sweep spent shell casings from concrete. Mechanics stack tools, wrenches, gauges, oil cans. Routine persists. Peace feels brittle. A bulletin crackles over loudspeaker. Germany has surrendered. Cheers, tears, hollow laughter. Someone fires a flare gun toward empty sky. Green star, arcing over quiet Mustangs. Summers closes the logbook gently, runs fingers over the cover. The war was steel, but memory is skin, soft, breakable. He remembers every flight, every close call, every time coolant temp spiked and settled, every time the scoop hummed with hidden thrust. Outside, Mustangs sit warm in sun, canopies open, guns capped. Their belly scoops catch daylight like a smile held sideways. He whispers to no one. It wasn't backwards. It was ahead. Across the ocean, Schmued sits at his drafting table again. New war might come someday. Jets rise. But this moment, he rests. Pencils arranged. Vellum clean. Coffee cold in its cup. A final note typed by Army Air Force's historical section lies on his desk. The P-51 achieved air supremacy over Europe. Its range and speed changed strategic bombing success. He touches the words like rivets, not pride, responsibility. Truth is heavy, like a wing hung with fuel and hope. Final statistics: P-51s flew 230 their 873 sorties in European theatre, destroyed 4,950 enemy aircraft in air combat. Escorted bombers suffered 60% fewer losses with Mustang cover than without. Numbers that meant lives. Numbers that meant victory. No cheering in this narration. No swelling music. Just the quiet hum of a radiator door adjusting mid-flight. A reminder that sometimes victory comes from the least expected direction. From a man who believed heat could be turned into speed, drag into thrust, limitation into edge, and from pilots who trusted a strange scoop beneath them when bullets tore sky and fear clawed bone. In blue folders at right field, archived test reports conclude dry and simple. Meredith Effect utilized. Cooling system contributes to propulsive efficiency. Estimated thrust recovery, 30-50 horsepower at cruise speeds above 300 mph. Yet in the hush after war's roar, the truth lives better in sound than in text. The hard rising whine of a Mustang opening her radiator halfway, just enough and leaving every enemy behind. Because physics kept its promise. Because one engineer refused common sense in favor of uncommon truth. Because sometimes backwards is the only way forward. The Meredith Effect remained aeronautical curiosity until Edgar Schmued made it operational reality. His radiator installation on the P-51 Mustang proved that waste heat could become thrust, that careful design could turn necessity into advantage, that theoretical physics and practical engineering could save lives at 25,000 feet. The war ended. The Mustang served into the jet age. Schmued moved to other projects, but the principle endured in technical journals and wind tunnel data. Properly designed, a cooling system need not be pure penalty. Sometimes the greatest innovations look wrong at first glance. Sometimes the best solutions run counter to instinct. Sometimes victory hides in the details engineers obsess over while others sleep. The sky remembers. The archives remember. And in quiet museums where P-51s rest, visitors still pause beneath that distinctive belly scoop, the radiator that refused to merely cool, that insisted on contributing, that turned physics backward until backward became the only way forward. The file closed without comment. The numbers had already rewritten the war.